What's up, guys? Welcome to the Music Hacks Network. This time we have Mr. Dale Brown, extraordinary bass player from Jamaica. Right? He is a man that has been playing the bass guitar for quite a while now, and I'm sure he has a lot of experience to tell you guys tonight. All right? So let us join Dale at this time. Dale Brown, welcome to the Music Hacks Network.
Thanks. I'm honored to be here.
Bro, it's quite a privilege to have such a legend in the studios of the Music Hacks Network on this
A, l-
program.
a legend. Wow, that makes me sound somewhat old. Um, but I do appreciate the sentiment. It's as I said before, honored to be here. It's good to be here, and it's my hope that I'll be able to share something of value with someone.
When I say legendary, I doesn't necessarily mean that you're old. It's the amount of experience that you have as a bass player because I've watched you um, perform on so many occasions, and I tell you that your bass playing is one that is very special.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. During my journey, I've been told similar by many people, and for me, it's really I go on a stage, I am myself, I try to be authentic, I try not to, be anyone else, and people tend to work with what is real because they can feel your energy, and so that for me is a blessing, you know.
Cool. All right. So dear, where has this journey begun?
All right, and and not to sound cliche, but my journey, as with most musicians from Jamaica, began in the church. My first guitar teacher, because I started on the guitar, so the first person to teach me anything on a guitar was my dad. Um, he didn't know all those nice chords that these guys do. He knew what were called the natural chords. He taught me those chords, taught me how to play a few songs on them, and then I started off in church playing those things. One of the things with the church that I grew up in a Pentecostal church, the United Pentecostal Church. They have 100 and odd branches across the island. I'm from St. Anne, so my church was in Golden Grove, St. Anne, pastored then by Bishop Smith. He has transitioned already. Um, but how church went on a Sunday morning, you'd go to Sunday school, and then after to close off Sunday school, they had a little segment where some music was played, and that was my first stage, playing music to close off Sunday school. It was nerve wracking, just as playing on a stage in front of a few thousand people.
Okay. All right. So what was the transition like into being a pro bass player?
Okay, the transition to bass began at that very church. The usual story with most country churches, you don't get a full um, band or, you know, this nice list of band gear to start with. So church started with one guitar, then another guitar was added, usually by members who travel and bring back stuff. And then I remember a bass was brought to the church. I think it was like the pastor's elder son who owned that bass, and he brought it to the church and started using it in church. And then his younger brother, who is now a bishop, Bishop John Smith, um, he was the MD at the time, and he he made a decision that seeing that I had just started on guitars and there was another brother there who was more adept at it than I was, um, he said, "Okay, Dale, you play the bass." I think it's one of the best decisions he ever made regarding me.
Okay. All right. Dale, how would you describe your playing style?
Oh, whoa. Um, I've never really given it much thought. I've heard reviews from other people. A good friend, Gregory Palmer, in describing my playing style to other people, a lot of times he say, if you want to know, if you're watching TV and you want to know who's playing bass, just watch closely when you see a black shadow who is across the stage and who is back, then you know that's Dale playing. You know, I guess that's his way of saying, I'm kind of crazy on stage.
Yeah, man. So it must be very hard for you to be seated in that still position.
Well, I think the difficulty really is dealing with these bright lights.
Okay. All right. Don't worry. Very soon we're gonna get your bass into your hand. So
All right.
you can perform a little
Yeah.
for our viewers and subscribers.
Yeah.
But Dale, as you mentioned that you have a particular sound and we can identify you by that. So there must be some things that you have worked on over the years to sort of shape this. What are some of the things that you have actually worked on?
Maybe one of the tougher things for me, or one of the things I still work on is my tone. I try to shape my tone to fit the song that I'm playing or the genre that I'm playing. If I'm playing reggae, I try to find the right kind of tone to complement that genre. Just as if I'm playing a jazz piece or a blues or R&B or anything else. So what I tend to do in preparing for that, I listen to the songs, I listen to the various other songs within those genres, and seek to get a working knowledge of how the instrument should sound, tone wise, how I should articulate the notes in terms of note value and all of those things.
But what about the technical stuff like the scales and the arpeggios? Do you practice much of that?
Well, I remember in my younger days I practiced a lot of scales and modes and those things. Um, I realized that those things are present in the songs that I'm playing. So technically, yeah, I still practice them. Well, once you're playing the song, you're going to be having to mess with some of these modes or scales. You know, yeah.
All right. Who are your greatest influences?
Influences now. Wow. That's my influences are wide and varied. Um, Let me start in Jamaica. In terms of my influences, um, Family Man. Like I like Family Man as a bass player. Glenn Brownie was one of my influences. Um, Funny thing is, I learned a lot from Glenn just by having conversations with him, and those conversations really weren't about music. We were just talking about life. But those things serve to influence how I approach the music. Um, Benji Bell Nevis of Rough Cut is one of those bass players who I really love listening to. Um, Rohan Reed, if you're talking gospel,
Yes, man.
Mikey Kennedy.
Yes.
Mikey Kennedy, that he is like the man for me in the gospel arena. Um, I didn't get much of interfacing with Rohan, because by the time I had ventured into the music and all of that, interfacing with musicians, Rohan had already migrated, but Mikey was here. um, and so I remember even going to functions where Mikey was playing, just to sit and listen to him, you know. Um, so those are, and the list is still longer. One of my another of my favorite Jamaican bass players is Val Douglas. If we if we go overseas, I think I'd have to start in Africa. Um, Country of Cameroon. There's a bass player from that country whose name is Ahmad Sabaleku. I mean, this guy is amazing. I mean, stick with Africa. There's Richard Bona. Come back across. We've got from Mexico. We've got Abraham Laboriel, and most people would know about Laboriel from Ancient of Days and those
Yes.
things with Ron Kinoli. Yeah. Um, and then coming over into North America, bass players that I listen to, John Patitucci was one of them. Marcus Miller, one of them. If it's speaking like the gospel guys, Andrew Goucher, of course. There's Steve Huff of Thompson Community Singers, that with Reverend Milton Bronson. There's Reggie Parker, who did a lot of work with Hezekiah Walker. There's Terence Palmer and Fred Hammond, who both I listened to them, from the same projects, because he was a bass player for Fred, but then on the studio recordings, Fred did a lot of the bass playing as well. There's Maurice Fitzgerald, and there's another bass player, Reggie Young. All of these guys, they serve to shape how I approach music. But especially in the 90s, when I was listening a lot to these people, I was listening a lot of Fred and Kirk and John Peakey and the Mississippi Mass Choir and those people.
Whoa, whoa. How do you pick from each of these persons, and how do you combine all of that to sound like Dale Brown?
All right. There's a trick I learned. It's from a quote by Dizzy Gillespie. It says, "Listen to everybody, and then don't play anything they do. Don't play like them." It's a
Whoa.
trick.
All
Yeah.
right. All right, cool. So first, I'm hearing that. Definitely, I'll have to ask you to explain that some more to me of here. All right,
Yeah.
because that seems that it has worked for you. All right,
Yeah,
because you
man.
have a great sound, as I said. All right.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yes, man. Definitely. All right. So, saying that, what is your creative process like? Maybe I want to ask you the question like that. How do you create music?
I tend to like melodies. That's a starting point for me with a song. Whether I'm playing a song that's pre-recorded or I'm going into a session to do original work, I tend to listen to the melody to find where exactly it's going, and then I choose the path that will best complement it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you pull from other instruments, like other melodic instruments, as you
Yes,
mentioned,
I
melody?
do. Yes, I do. Um, Saxophone is like one of my favorite melodic instruments. In fact, I like listening to phrases where a bass and a sax are just going at it together. It's just magic for me.
Okay, cool. All right. For the sake of the viewers and subscribers who like to get to know you some more, who are some of the persons that you have actually worked with? You can mention your tour journey in this?
Okay, a list. It's kind of long, but let me kind of just make it edit it somewhat. I have shared stage with the likes of Chevelle Franklin, Byron Lee, Sean Paul. I've recorded with Tess and Chin, and there are quite a few more people that I've worked with. I mean, people of note, of course. I've worked with Ibo Cooper, Desi Jones, countless occasions, John Williams, these people. In fact, I think one of my early trips, because I don't call everything a tour. If I go to one place to perform, that's not a tour for me. That's just a trip. Well, one of my early trips outside of Jamaica was with Father Richard Holong, and John Williams was the MD, and we went to Toronto, Canada, where we performed, and that for me was quite an experience because I was sharing stage not just with John Williams, but then the second keyboard player was Alex Martin Blanken, who in my book is a phenomenal musician, and Desi Jones was there on drums. And then we were working alongside an orchestra from out of Canada. Yeah, so that was a really exciting experience for me.
What has been the high point in all that for you?
High point. Okay, I think one of the high points in my tour life, or was being able to travel to Africa. My first trip to Africa, I visited Senegal, and that for me was more than a musical experience. I was able to visit um, some of the places there and connect with the history, part of which kind of served to place us where we are, you know. So it was somewhat of some would call it a spiritual experience of sorts, you know.
All right, cool. If you should, apart from all the persons that you have mentioned, if you should play bass for any other known artist, who would that person be?
And from Jamaica or anywhere else.
Anywhere.
I think I'd like to play. I would play bass or share stage with the likes of an Anita Baker or a Tony Braxton. I've been in love with their music since I was like much younger. Don't want to date myself too much. Yeah.
That's fine. All right. So I know you want to get into your presentation. I don't want to keep you in in that seat for much longer. But what are you currently working on now?
Well, currently I have some of my own ideas that just waiting to record. Um, so it's a balancing act, really, doing that and dealing with the rest of life. So, but I think in the right time, as people would say, you know, those things will be forthcoming.
All right, definitely. All right. At the end, I'm going to ask you to give your social media contacts and all that. All right.
Okay. Yeah, no
So,
problem.
ladies and gentlemen, on Zoom, and if you, I don't know, well, I keep asking my guests if they can see over in YouTube, but if you should see over in YouTube now, there, the person are lighting up that chat
Well,
on the live. All right. Welcome, guys, on YouTube. It's great to have you. All right. And I know you're here to support Dale. And thanks for joining us on the Music Hacks Network. And welcome, guys, on Zoom. Please have your questions ready at the end of Dale's presentation. All right. So at this time, Dale, I'm going to ask you to do your presentation.
okay. Thanks again. Um, Good night to those tuned in via Zoom and YouTube. Um, my presentation isn't going to be very long. Um, let's reflect just for a few minutes on the topic, striking that basic balance. Simply, for me, as a bass player, I see the instrument as being a very versatile instrument in terms of its purpose, in terms of its functionality. The bass is that instrument for me that can be percussive, it can be harmonic, can be melodic. So the balance that we speak of is being able to complement the percussive side of the band as well as the melodic or harmonic instruments in the band and not going off kilter. Um, Being there with the drummer at all times in terms of the groove, the tempo, and all that, and paying keen attention to the chord structure, the chord movements, and all of that. It can be a bit unnerving if, let's say, your keyboard player is going, onto a nice passing chord or a nice something nice and pretty, and then as a bass player you are gone way around the road. That can throw off things. So what is very important in striking that balance is that you have to do a lot of listening, not just listening to the recordings, on the things that you rehearse, but listening while on stage, listening in the moment. Um, a lot of magic can take place on a stage. I've had, you know, a lot of magical moments on stage. Um, and the magic comes when even your creativity kicks in the moment on a stage. Yes, you have rehearsed. Yes, the band is properly prepared and all of that. And as some people would say, the music is tight. And while playing a song, you know, there's a breakdown and somebody gets an idea. And the magic happens when you all flow with that. Um, I remember being in church, and it has happened a lot, but some of my memories go to being at church with Corey Clark, one of my favorite keyboard players. And being on that bandstand, and you we're playing in an apostolic church, and these churches are the kinds that they have quite a close relationship with singing. So as a musician, you'll be playing a lot, and you're there playing a song, and you know choruses tend to run maybe 10 rounds, um, and in a moment, one of us might get an idea and play a phrase, and so we just set it up for the next time around. And when that happens, it's great, you know. So part of being, as I said before, being that person who is trying that balance is that your ears have to be attuned to what's happening. Um, Remember also, as a bass player or as a band member, you are a part of a team. It's like the four wheels on your car. If one wheel is running in a different direction from the other three, then sorry, you're in problems. You want to know that, your wheels are properly aligned and balanced, and you apply those principles to your musicianship. Um, it can't be overstressed that yes, you'll get ideas. We all get ideas. The drummer will get an idea. The bass man, the keyboard player will get an idea. Um, what is important is in that moment when you get the idea to analyze it for its value in terms of how it would impact on the process that you are currently engaged in. If it is the kind that will take away from the process, not necessarily add value, but is more designed to, bring some sort of extra attention to you in terms of, oh wow, I know this phrase, I can do this run, I can, do all these double taps and all of that. That might just be your ego chipping in, and that is counterproductive, right? Sometimes what's required is to be very simple, playing two notes if that's what's required. And then there'll be other times when, yeah, you'll be expected. What's required is just to, yeah, have fun, go to town, play all those scales and modes and, get all funky and all of that. But you have to understand how and when and where all of these things are applicable. If all you need to play is two notes, play the two notes. And this I'm saying is, just for musicians in general, whether you're a church guy or a non-church guy, one of the worst things to do as a musician is have an audience and not groove. You're playing a song and you're not grooving. Your audience might not be the kind who will be able to articulate their dissatisfaction using all these nice musical terms that we know, but they can tell you if they feel the band. And if your audience is not feeling the band, then you are essentially putting yourself in problems because you have to apply certain principles. One of the principles I live by as it concerns music, a show, a gig, all of that, I treat it like a Guinness. One leads to another. So a bad representation in a moment, right, could inadvertently mean a loss of future opportunities within a particular space or within a particular forum, right? And so in striking this balance, you take into consideration not just your musical prowess, not just the notes and note value and all of that, but you take in you take as a whole an understanding of what's required, what needs to happen, and a respect for the groove, a respect for your purpose and the sound that's supposed to emanate not just from your instrument or from you, but as a whole as the band, because what you contribute will you know serve to color the band or color the sound in a particular way. um, as I said before in my interview, is that melodies for me um, work. I want to show you something that I did with on one of the records that I played on, and I hope you'll be able to hear me. Um, we all know the song that Tessan recorded, Hideaway. I was in studio the day. I got a call, went to studio, sat down, listened to the song, and it was my time to put on the bass line. And I said, all right. So she said, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to do, all those things in the intro. And I said, okay, what can I do to complement what's happening here? Because keyboard going, guitar going, and all, some nice chords and stuff. So, song is in G. The first chord is C. And that repeats, you don't know anything. I'm not a singer. And that runs for almost eternity. So that's in the intro. So those chords are going. I don't need to be playing a bass line there. So it's a space for me to be creative. And so I got this nice little melody. So it's pardon. Oh wow. So that I play that like twice in the intro, between the C and the D, you know, and then at the end of it, I went to the bass line, which was I just did a pull. Do you? So and working with the melody that she had, for me, every note had to be complementary. Every note had to be deliberate. They had the chord structure. So whatever I play must be within context of the chords and within the context of the melody. Also has to be in context of what the drummer is playing. So I can't be going to tone and all of that, you know. So that for me, that simply for me just kind of sums up being that person in the middle, you know. You're pulling from both sides, the percussive, the harmonic and melodic over here and all of that, you know, and ensuring that what you do is complementary, ensuring that what you do is solid, you know, and it all works out, you know, to to make everything bigger and better. Because let's be clear, the music is bigger than all of us. We all came here and saw music going. We're going to transition, and music is going to continue. And our children, their children are going to come, experience it, and so on and so forth. It's just a cycle of life. Um, this for me is just my short thing. I don't really like talking long. I don't like hearing my voice being amplified. So what I'll do, I'll just wait for the questions. So if nothing was, maybe something you wanted addressed was not addressed in this short presentation, I'll see how best those questions can be answered in the Q&A.
Dale Brown. Yeah, if you wonder, I'm laughing. Your friends, man, on YouTube, they're saying that you're handling this so calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, you know, I had some water before.
Yeah, man. They're saying this is not the Dale we normally see on stage, you know. But you know, this is
Yeah,
another side of
yeah,
of
yeah.
Dale
This is a deal before the stage.
before the
Before we go.
stage. All right, bro. That was very informative. I really enjoyed that presentation. That's very sound. All right. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have just heard from Mr. Dale Brown. A lot of experience right there. I'm going to ask you now to post your questions in both um, chats. Well, actually, the persons on YouTube, I want you to post your question in the YouTube chat. But the persons on Zoom, I want you to open up your microphones and we are going to interact at this time with the great bass player. All right?
uh, Excuse me for a minute. Let me do the bishop wipe. You know, them bishop
All right.
from a church with a big towel.
That's what. All right. Any questions for Dale?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Mikey Fletcher here.
Bless up, sir.
Yes, yes. Nice.
Welcome.
Yes, man. Nice interview. Dale, I'm curious to know. I see the basses in the background. However, I see you with your lovely six-string bass there. Do you care to share with Music Hacks and Jamaica who made that bass?
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, how are you,
Good
sir?
night, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Uh, this six-string bass that I just played is made by a Jamaican genius. His name is
Mm-hmm.
Anthony McDonald.
Yes.
Um, he has his bass company, and he goes by the name Anthony Bass or the Bass Doctor. Um, this is one person who is able to work with any specs that you give him. If you want a bass shaped like a car or a gun, you'll get it. And you'll get the sound that you want. He's the kind of person who works with you. So from the electronics to the kind of wood, you know, and all of that. If you want a headless bass, or if you want bass with head, if you want a 4, 7, 8, 5, 6 strings, doesn't matter. Um, he's one of the I had considered our still one of our untapped resources, human
Mm-hmm.
resources that we have in this country. I would encourage our bass players and guitarists to shop local, buy local. You know, um,
Definitely.
I can assure you, I'm willing to bet that you will be satisfied with the service and the product.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you for that. Love it. Mm.
All right. Bless up, Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Yes,
too.
Mikey Fletcher, big up yourself.
And it's great that you guys have highlighted Anthony tonight because I've actually been there um, myself. I think last
Mm.
year being a bass player, and I was amazed playing a few of those basses.
Yeah, man.
I
You
Yes.
couldn't
in bass
believe.
heaven, man. You in
Yeah,
bass
Yes.
heaven. You
man.
don't want to leave.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, Anthony's there for sure for Jamaica, and then we'll have Dale Cunningham. We'll have Dwight Cunningham, sorry, out of who's
Yes.
also Jamaican.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
And
We got at least
I
two.
have his bass that I'm promoting also presently. So we have these two luthiers that definitely Jamaica will be seeing a lot and hearing a lot more this year,
Right.
and seeing that Dale is playing one of his original basses. I think what Dale, that's one of the first basses he ever made, I believe.
Oh yeah,
You are
this bass is one of the first basses. The story
right,
about this bass, Anthony told me that this was like the third bass he made, and
right.
he had taken it to Nam one
Mm-hmm.
year, and someone bought it from him there.
Yes.
Um, Interestingly enough, I saw this bass on the Guitar Center website, and because by then I was hearing about him because Joshua Jones had told me a
Uh-huh.
lot about him, and Joshua had a bass from him that he was using, and
Right.
so my interest was already piqued. When I saw
Mm-hmm.
this bass and I saw the price that it was going for at the time, I was like, all right, let me take a chance with this. And
Mm-hmm.
I ordered the bass. It came here. I cleared it. And I remember taking it home, taking a couple pics of it, and sending them to Anthony because by then I had one of his contacts. I sent them to him, and he linked me immediately and asked me where was that bass and all of that. I said, oh, it's in Jamaica with me, and that's when he shared the story that boy, he's been looking for that bass for the longest while. It was a bass that he had made and sold, and yeah. So it's back in Jamaica, and he's in Jamaica. So it's a reuniting of sorts.
Right, right, right. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, man. So Jamaica needs to know about this, and I love what Music Hacks doing the presentation, and just to inform Jamaica and the world about what we have here. Our products also being played by you know good musicians like yourself and others, in the business, and to
Yes.
promote our Jamaican luthiers, which is important because, I mean, you have Fender, Yamaha, they have nothing over our Jamaican luthiers now. We're basically on the same par level. And I say that with
Yes.
no
But the
apology.
point is, Mikey, is that well, you have the Anthony bass as well,
Hmm. Definitely.
and you find that these basses are quite versatile. We can use them to
Yes.
play just
Yeah.
about any genre, and
Yes.
they don't fall short.
No, they don't.
If you use it to play reggae, you get all the tones that you need. If you're using it to play R&B, you're using it to play,
Hmm.
in church, what's they call gospel,
Yes.
or you're playing jazz, or you're playing rock,
Yes.
blues. It stands up just the same. It doesn't
Yeah, it
matter.
stands up, definitely. And
It's
I've seen you on
just
tour play the bass a
getting
few
on these
times.
big name brand bases that we import.
Yeah, definitely. And I've
Mm.
seen you on tour playing Anthony basses, also the small one, and this one here that you have. I've seen it. So that's, once again, respect for that.
Yes. If I may add, I said I've been following Anthony for a while, and I have reached out to him, and
Hmm.
he should have been here yesterday for an interview, but he has some work currently going on in Manchester. But definitely next week, Anthony will be on this program.
Yes, man.
All
Get him
right,
on the program, man.
definitely.
He can't run too far, No, no. No, he's
So
going,
true.
trust me. I'm going to make sure that he's on your program, and he needs to make that presentation. And also, Dwight Cunningham out of Australia, who I spoke to on Zoom just tonight, and he's ready for your interview now.
Okay, sir.
So
Appreciated.
we have these luthiers that I already know,
Mm.
and the reason why, as I said, I love the interview with what Dale has said so far, and I want other young upcoming bass players also to listen to what's going on around them with our, other bass players, Dale and others, and also to see what our Jamaican luthiers are doing, that we can also represent our Jamaican brand here and worldwide.
Definitely. All right.
Hmm. Yeah, man.
All right, sir, Fitch, I'm gonna get your number from Dale because I want to
Yeah,
reach
man.
out to you also to be on this
No.
program.
Oh yes, man.
Well,
I mean,
sure, no problem.
Mr.
All right.
Fletcher,
All right,
Mr.
dear.
Fletcher's
Respect.
journey is,
Mhm.
come,
All right.
come on. I mean, he's one of the resource persons. I should
Yeah.
share some about you, share something with you about Mr. Fletcher. Um, I remember years ago, at least 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, um, I was in a conversation with Mr. Fletcher at the time, and I shared with him an interest in learning to play the fretless bass.
Oh, yes. Oh,
And he
yes.
was like,
Yes.
"Okay, no problem, man. I'll teach you. I'll show you, man." And well, all I remember is that I was at home one day, and he called and said he would pass by, and in a few minutes there was Mr. Fletcher at my gate with his bass, his fretless bass. You know, he came in and he gave me some lessons, showed me the intonation, how to find notes correctly on a fretless and get the proper sound and all of that. And that has never left me. He's one of the persons who I have mad respect for him for that.
Mhm.
Um,
Thank you.
and this was at that time when Mr. Fletcher was like, people said Mikey Fletcher, and yeah man, the man that play for Shaggy, and some people would have it in their mind that someone who at that level would not necessarily want to interface with someone who is somewhere down there on the totem pole. But much thanks and respects, Mr. Fletcher. I'll
Yeah,
always
man.
remember that.
My motto is someone has to start somewhere. Yeah, and the importance is growth, and you definitely have grown over the years and still growing. and showing the other younger bass players behind you what the road is like and what it's still like and where persons are to go. And the reality is it's not to have the base information and keep it to yourself, but to spread it. And it's very important. And that's what you're doing. That's what I love for what Music Hacks is doing now, with featuring the different musicians and persons in terms of the instrument and carrying on what they're about.
Okay, sir.
Mhm.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you
All
too.
right.
Respect, Mr.
Okay,
Fred.
sir, dear.
All
Respect.
right. Some questions from YouTube.
Hmm.
Mr. Floyd Gale is asking you, Dale, how did you fall in love with playing the bass guitar?
All right. I hinted at it earlier. Said that while being at the Golden Grove UPC Church, when John Smith at the time had made the decision for me to play the bass, and I number one, I was cool with it. It wasn't a problem for me. It wasn't like, oh, why am I going to play the bass? I want to play rhythm. No, so, started playing the bass. The more I played it, is the more fun I found it. Actually, um, I all of my early years. I mean, even where improv is concerned, I started with a bass guitar. I didn't bother to take up the guitar anymore, the rhythm guitar or what you call the lead anymore. I just prefer the bass. Those low notes and seeing the impact that they have when you pull a low note and boom, you know, I'm like, wow, this is fun. It's like a kid, discovering something and like, oh, cool, cool, you know. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, Osneil Lewis, I guess this is Oti. Oti, right?
Yes,
Yes.
the great,
Big
the
up
great
yourself,
Otti.
Oti. Right.
No, don't tell Otti to big up himself.
Oh,
Otti, me not get no more trouble. Hush.
all right, he would like to know where we can find Anthony.
Okay,
You
Anthony is in what's it? Well, he's in St. Mary. It's like where he is 20 minutes out of Ocherius. You know, very straightforward road. You turn right at by the Three Hills intersection and just, as Jamaicans say, follow your nose, and you'll find him. And his place is, one of those nice, serene environments. You almost feel like, oh, you're one of those rustic resorts, very peaceful, nice vegetation and all of that around, music playing and two dogs. It's fun, peaceful. If Otti needs to get to Anthony urgently, then ask Otti to call me. You know, I'll be more than happy to help him. You know,
all
consider it
right,
my
sir.
my my one good deed for him for the year.
Def- yeah, man. All right. Gregory Palmer.
Oh,
Who
Gregory
was
Paul.
your very first inspiration?
Mm. On the bass.
Yes, I think so.
My very first inspiration on the bass. Yeah, I'm trying to be a nice guy on this program, and Gregory's trying to get stories out of me, so that people might see me in a different light. All right. Growing up, I didn't have access to records, CDs, all these things, with the information as to who played what and all of that. Um, but I do remember listening to the radio. Um, my dad listened to the radio a lot. My dad listened to the news and he listened to Hotline. Um, or side note, when you find yourself listening to the news and Hotline and those things a lot, yeah, that's a sign of aging. Um, so anyway, I used to capitalize on the opportunities on my father's absence from the house. Whenever he left to go to the shop or to go to do some business, I used to listen to a lot to RJR. Well, in those days, we had like three radio stations: JBC Radio 1, JBC Radio 2, and RJR. Um, on a Saturday morning, I'd listen a lot to Winston Williams. He was at RJ at the time, and he played a lot of reggae. Um, listened a lot of Peter Tosh's music, a lot of Bob Marley's music, and Burning Spear and those people. So those things, kind of shaped and influenced me, probably in a way that I wasn't even aware of at the time, you know. But I'd say maybe my earliest influences would have been some of our own musicians, you know. I like listening to the bass line on the Bob Marley tracks or the Peter Tosh tracks and all of that. And of course Robbie Shakespeare from with Taxi Gang. He and Sly and Robbie working out in those days, you know. So all of those bass lines, because as simple as they were, they had intricacies, but then their impact was, it's like a bulldozer just hitting down a brick wall, you know. So I listened a lot to those. Um, and well, Daddy was kind of cool, you know, listening to those. If he came in and, found the station, the radio and those stations, the music, listen, the only time he required a change was when it was news time. So I give thanks to Daddy for that.
Awesome, sir. All right. Dale, I realize that you have a four string there. You have a five string, and I know you have a six.
Yeah.
I've been asked many times as a bass player the difference between a five and a six. But I would like to hear from you. What's the difference that you have found between these three different versions of the bass guitar?
All right. For me, the fun bass is a four string. For me, it's a fun bass to play. Whichever genre you're playing, uh, once the notes you are to play fall within the context of the four string, then you're good. Um, I like the five string for the nice deep tone I can get from that B string. You know, of course, the six string is the extension where you have the added C string, and so you're going to a higher range. Um, Apart from that, I also noticed that there's a difference in the tonal quality or the tonal capabilities of all of them. You know, especially if you're playing an old school four string bass. You know, those that don't come with a preamp. You get a nice warm tone. That's it. God bless you. That's it. Nothing else. If you want something that's going to be like that bulldozer, then you might need something with, a preamp and a B string.
Okay. Somebody's asking which one of your basses is your favorite? That's Craig. Grizzle.
Um, as it stands just now, if I am to travel with, let's say I am to do a session or I'm to do a gig, and I'm not necessarily, you know, sure as to what the song list is, what kind of genre we're doing, and all of that, I take the six, the Anthony bass. It for me is the most versatile bass. I can sweep through it and get all the tones that I want to fit any genre. If I have some foreknowledge of what I'm gonna be doing, I get the song list and I analyze it and say, all right, so these songs are just four string songs, and this event is, kind of one of those little. It's almost like the acoustic, unplugged kind of setting. I tend to work with my four string, which this one is an Ibanez, and I'll say this straight. This is the only Ibanez bass I have, and this is the only Ibanez bass I'll have, because that's it. It's an acoustic electric. I like the tone on it. I like the output on it. It actually has a better kick than even some solid body basses that I've heard before, you know. But so for me, it's about fitting, having something to fit what I have to do. Like I said before, if I'm unsure as what the workload will be, I work with the Anthony bass. If I have full knowledge of what to do, then I might make a decision and say, all right, this is a four-string gig or this is a five-string gig, and I'll work with the Fender.
Cool. All right. Dale, what would your encouragement be for young bass players emerging in the music industry?
Wow. This might so my response might sound like a lecture, because there's so many things I could say here. Excuse me. I think one of the very first approaches a young bass player has to take, and it's this sort of approach that has helped even some of us older cats in the business, is to, be more studious, be more like a student. Don't take the attitude as, oh, Mr. Know It All, because nobody knows it all. And even when you know it, um, you have to be very careful as to how you show it, because then it could be interpreted as arrogance, and then that could serve to work against you big time. So always try to be a student. Um, Try to be assertive, and be respectful, you know, uh, to your clients. Be respectful of the time that you have to perform. If let's say you have a gig at 6 p.m., you don't enter the venue at 5 minutes to 6 with your bass and your amp to set up for 6 o'clock, because trust me, you are not going to be ready in time, and so you're going to be late. These are things I learned along the way from even some of the elders, people who are not, because they're chronologically senior to me, but the sort of respect I have for them and the light in which I see them. Desmond Jones, Desi Jones, drummer extraordinaire. Um, Mr. Derek Stewart, another drummer extraordinaire, who these are persons with whom I have shared many stages. And one of the things I noticed with them, and Bird Bailey, another drummer. Uh, these people are always early, always early. So you have a I have a gig with Desi Jones at 5 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Desi's all set and ready from 4 or 4:15, and he's backstage, with his red stripe, and his practice pad on his knee, and he's there just practicing away, and he'll, accommodate conversations from people and all that. But they're not the kind of people you see rushing through a door when it's their time to perform. They are in place. So that's one of the things, young bass player, young musicians try to be early. One of the advices Bird Bailey gave me starting out very early, he said there are three things you'll need as a musician. You need an instrument, you need a phone, and you need a car. And the reasons for those are obvious. You don't need to be going around borrowing some instrument for somebody. You need to be accessible to your clients, so when they call you, they can get you. And you need to be mobile. right? So have a reliable car, you can get to where you need to go in time, you're in place and all that.
Okay, cool. All right, just a few more questions. Dale. All
Mm-hmm.
right, going Graham. What keeps your passion for music alive to ensure you're always growing on your instrument and not stuck at a particular level?
Okay.
John Graham.
Um, well, I try to um, listen widely. I'm not necessarily a radio listener. I go to YouTube and I find songs, and then I'm blessed to have a son living with me who his taste for music is wide and varied, and so I learn a lot of stuff from him because he'll be playing some music and I'll ask him who's the artist and all that, and he tell me and then I check them out. You know, I know about Snarky Puppy, but then I never knew about Robert Glasper. And I never knew about. He has this other ones about animals as leaders, and that it's they don't necessarily call themselves a band. They're more a project, and people come together and they just do stuff. And I listen to those sorts of music, and I'm challenged. And then sometimes I go old school and I listen, you know, to some stuff from Stanley Clark. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned Stanley Clark. He was one of my early influences. Um, I listen to stuff from Stanley Clark or Victor Wooten. You know, I listen to choir music. I grew up listening to choir music. I played a lot of choir music. You know, in the Golden Grove. When I came to Kingston, I was at the church at Wildman Street. Most people know about the big church at Wildman Street, Pentecostal Tabernacle. And in the 90s, they had a lovely choir there. And I was fortunate to, work out with that choir a lot. And with the Emmanuel Apostolic Choir on Slipe Road as well. So I listen wide. I just listen everybody I can listen to, whether it's rock, jazz, blues, reggae. It doesn't matter to me. It's all music. It's the same notes. It's just how they arrange them.
Awesome, Dale. Dale,
Mm-hmm.
how can we reach you on social media? I like when my guests leave their contacts. We're living in a social media
Yep.
time, so we have to leave
Right.
our contacts for the persons who would like to reach us.
You can find me on Instagram. DB. DEE. BEE. Alright. You just put that in your search bar and you'll see it. My info. Come on.
All right, Sir Dale, I would like to extend much gratitude to you. Thanks for the humility.
You know? Yeah, man. It's not a problem being able to share and to serve. I think really in the cycle of life, each generation, yeah, and here I am sounding old. Yeah, but each generation has a responsibility to, you know, those coming behind it, and wherever and whenever I can, do some sort of sharing that will bring value. I'm cool with that. I'm all for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro.
Respect again. I'm happy that you took the time out to share on this platform. As I said, thanks to the persons who um, were on YouTube watching. Well, they're still on YouTube watching. Thanks to the persons who are still with us on Zoom. Thanks for joining us this Thursday on the Music Hacks Network. Before the persons go on YouTube, I am definitely going to ask you please to leave us a subscription before you leave. All right, we have a target. We are trying to get into the YouTube algorithm, as they call it. So I'm going to ask you, please. There are about 50 or so persons commenting, and I'm sure the number was larger than that. So please hit that like button so that this video can go all over the world and persons can see Dale speaking on the Music Hacks Network. So guys, please like the video, share, and please subscribe. All right, I will definitely see you next week. All right, we have some very, very interesting persons who are going to be on this show. All right, coming up in for the rest of March and April. See you next week.